So we're somewhere in the White Mountains outside of Bishop, California, past the bristlecone pines in search of the endangered Paiute cutthroats. We're at Cottonwood Creek. We were given the task to catch and release 50 endangered Paiute cutthroats for a genetics research.
Okay, hi, I'm Dawn Becker out of the Fish and Game Bishop office. I just want to say thank you first for all your help. It's a really big job to bring a backpack shocker up here, and in addition to not wanting to carry the backpack shocker without having a crew, one of the things we found in the past that using a backpack shocker on Paiute cutthroat trout really disrupts the social structure of these fish. In addition to that, they get pretty bunged up. By this time of the year, they're still healing from raging winter waters that are moving rocks down, and also they're spawning. So since they are listed species, they're listed federally listed as a threatened species, we really don't want to handle them too much, and your angling is definitely having less of an impact on the individual species that we're capturing. Our goal with this water, with North Fork Cottonwood Creek, I'm actually standing in front of the main stem of Cottonwood Creek, which is open to angling, but the North Fork Cottonwood Creek is currently closed to fishing. Ultimately, if we ever get to do a run-on project on Silver King Creek, which is actually the historic distribution, the historic range of these fish, the native range, it's actually a water where we think that we can, if we treat it, we think we can achieve a delisting of the species, so it wouldn't be federally listed anymore. We could actually have waters, I mean, the fish would be in better shape than historically, because we have all these refuge populations, North Fork Cottonwood Creek being one of them. The cool thing about North Fork Cottonwood Creek is that it was historically fishless water. Fish and Game did stock it with rainbow downstream, and we have had to actively manage this water, but ultimately, if we can use these refuge fish to go back into their native range, we can open this water to fishing. That's the ultimate goal. And around the 70s, grazing was removed, and then it came back on, and then it was removed again in, I think, around 90 or 80, the end of late 80s. And so they planted beaver from Shasta here in 1946. And actually, you'll see some evidence of it up in the North Fork, and there'll be some old workings, but if we go down to the main fork to camp, there's a whole bunch of evidence of beaver damage out throughout there. In '65, they discovered hybridized Paiute cutthroat trout, because the barrier, we'll check out the barrier. It's a natural barrier. We've had our engineer, Fish and Game engineer, come up and look at it a few times and try to give us some ideas of how we could restructure it to just make it a forever kind of barrier. We didn't anticipate all the lawsuits and the subsequent lack of treatment. So now it's sort of become another issue where we should probably have that, because there's a few other things that have been going on. Well, first, now that it's a wilderness area, working on that barrier to reinforce it is not likely. I mean, that we're going to have to do, I mean, it can happen, but we're going to have to do things by hand. It's not going to, you're not going to have machinery out here. So, sure. So that's put a big glitch in it. It's sort of like, God, if we had taken care of it 10 years ago before this was designated, that would have probably helped us. Another issue that we hadn't anticipated was Furnace Creek Road. It goes up into Tres Plumas Flat, and from there people are able apparently to go on their dirt bikes or their ATVs or whatever and go off-road and get to Cottonwood Creek. And it was sort of interesting going through that process, the public hearing process on that, because the forest was saying, well, we can't anticipate illegal use. We can't write about illegal use in our document, because that's, first off, it's not going to happen, and secondly, it's not legal, so we're not going to address it. But in the public hearing, there were people actually saying, oh yeah, we do that. Because Fish and Game was basically saying, you're going to have to, we want the road closure to be in a place where there's a confined area, so you don't have, you know, people can't just go around it, because they're going to actually end the road at Tres Plumas Flat, which is open. I mean, it's a huge open area. So, so that was something that we thought was dead and buried because the road actually got closed. But now there's litigation on that, so the road might not ultimately be closed. BLM is actually, for their portion of the road, I just got notice that an EA is going to be coming out examining whether or not, what the fate should be of the BLM portion of the road, which connects to the Forest Service portion. So there's all these threats that we were sort of not expecting that we had. And what else is there? We actually had, way back in the 70s, there's the Eva Bell mine that comes up into the headwaters, and that was something that Fish and Game petitioned for a long time to get that road closed, just because people don't, I don't know if it's Fish and Game not advertising properly or if it's Fish and Game closing waters to angling that upsets people, but people move fish around and they don't, particularly, they think they're doing a good thing sometimes, and sometimes maybe it's malicious, but I think a lot of times they think it's a good thing. Back in the day, in the 30s, Fish and Game would just give people a piece of paper. They'd say, I want to stock here. And we'd say, okay, here's a piece of paper, you know, fill out this form, we'll give you the fish. And they just go off. We never checked to see if they actually put the fish in the water that they said they're going to put it in or anything. So it went from being something that people were allowed to do all the time to something that, you know, now Fish and Game is the only entity that stocks. We've got private individuals and organizations that stock, but they have to go through us and get a permit. So ideally, we know everything that's going on, but in the real world, no.
And there's no way you can monitor all that.
There is no way, and there's a lot of people, because of the way that I mean, it's our own fault. We're not getting the word out to people. We're not educating people.
If there's issues that you think need to be maybe blown up a little bit more or presented more publicly, we have a guides association. We have like 50 members, and they're all working with people all the time. So through that, we could help you if there's things that need to get out and people need to be made aware of.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, that would be something that we could do for you, I think.
I think that would be great, and I have to confess that as little as a year and a half ago, actually, we were not allowed. Public outreach was not encouraged. In fact, there were some organizations that I was specifically told not to talk to. Because, oh, they never get it.
Yeah.
What do you mean, sure?
Yeah.
We're a public agency.
Yes.
We're supposed to be getting the words out. I mean, that's our job. So.
Yeah, and people want to know.
I think people want to know.
People want to know. I don't think, and like I said,
should know.
Like I told Mammy, I don't get the opinion with all the people that I deal with all the time that are fishing and whatnot, that they really even have any idea that you do things like this. You know?
It's all
I mean, huh?
I think it's all wardens and permits.
Yeah, all they see is the game warden and the $43 that they have to pay for a fishing license, and they go, "Where's it going up again?" Well, yeah, but there's people that are working for you. Don't you understand that? In the back, you never see.
Fish and Game is really good with marketing our hatcheries.
Yeah.
But we're not really good with marketing our native species.
No.
And wild fish. I think wild fish are so much more of a challenge to catch.
Well,
they taste better. They have a better texture. So
it came directly from hatcheries.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that Fish and Game sort of doesn't want to. We don't want to touch as an agency because it's pretty sensitive, and it's now we're being forced to for lawsuits. It's perfect.
And it does fund the agency licenses.
They do to some extent. That's our traditional funding. I mean, right now we get a lot of grants through the feds. Is our biggest.
Yeah, but is that primarily it's fishing licenses, fishing and hunting licenses?
In 1965, we had hybridized cutthroat that were discovered above the barrier, so they actually did a rotenone treatment.
Up here?
Up here. And they took some of the fish out of here, and it was less than 100. It was 68 Paiute Cutthroat trout were moved from here into Cabin Creek, up north, for a minute. He spent 1 or 2 summers up here. He's got this nice little camping area. Daryl Wong.
Oh, Daryl Wong?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know Daryl Wong.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he was. Super nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And just low-key, intelligent.
Yeah, totally.
Made a lot of advances for native cuts up here and other native aquatic fauna. So,
Sweet.